My second article examines the challenges early childhood educators face when working with children that have been affected by trauma. It's quite a recent study published in 2023 and was the first of its kind, concentrating on early childhood. There's been similar ones done in school environments, but not so much in early childhood settings. So the objective was to identify the key challenges those educators face in supporting trauma-affected children. The research method was a qualitative one, a phenomenological approach, which means it focuses on personal experiences and the personal lived experiences of those educators. The data was collected in semi-structured interviews, which was taken over the phone. There were between 20 and 50 minutes. I found that some of the questions that were created for those interviews were a little bit leading questions. In particularly the one asking for the training needs. It doesn't give them the option to be a little bit more open-ended. I thought it was a little bit leading. It could have been better worded, in my opinion. Also, that doing phone interviews, I think, misses the face-to-face part of it, because some people don't work so well over the phone, and it misses the facial expressions, and I think phone interviews is not ideal. The sampling was done through at Early Childhood Services. They've registered their interest in being part of studies. It does not say if it's 1, 2, 3. It doesn't say how many services it is, so it might only be one, which obviously limits greatly the impact it has on future research. It was only 14 participants, and they were all in Victoria. And the other issue I had with the sampling method was that they were all 35 years and older. The educators that were taking part of this, so all the newly ones that came into the industry weren't part of this research. The other thing I found a bit misleading or misguiding, because it did not specify the level of education those educators had. Working myself in early childhood, I know that there's a big difference between a Cert 3 and a diploma and an early childhood teacher. So it doesn't specify what background those educators have. This would have probably made a big difference. And then you can see which level of education the educators have and see if that would have made a difference. It would have been very interesting to know as well. Like I said, the settings were based in Victoria, and they analysed it through a thematic analysis, which means they identified themes and sub-themes, and finding patterns through those recorded interviews. It was then checked by the third author, a third researcher, and also the participants got the scripts to make possible changes and see if they were happy with that. I thought that was quite thorough and quite good. Then the style of reporting I thought was a bit weak. It was simply writing headings and subheadings and then putting in a few quotes and the outcomes. It could have been a lot better presented with a bit of more visual and more engaging way. So it was very repetitive as well, so I found it actually quite boring and not interesting, although the findings were interesting, but the way it was presented wasn't. Overall, I thought the writing style compared to the first article I analysed was very simple. It has got obviously a benefit that it widens the audience, but it's also lacks a bit of professionalism, and the research or the theories behind it, I think, was very limited. It had a problem because it was not transferable, because it was only in Victoria and you don't know how many centres were involved. So I thought that was a bit of a limitation as well. It provides some recommendation for teacher training, but it was not very extensive and not explaining what trauma actually means. I thought was a bit of a lack in judgment of those researchers, because it would have been, they did it deliberately, but I think it would have been better if they explained what trauma in those settings means. So that is basically it. Thank you very much.